You brought up, Sean, Mitchell Robinson. Marc Berman's wearing his Relax shirt, an ode to Mitchell Robinson, who famously said, "Relax, Berman," after Berman asked him a question about when the Knicks weren't playing well. Mark, with Mitchell Robinson, if you're a coach or you're with the Knicks, what are you saying to him? How are you getting him to shake loose here?
Yeah, listen, I covered Mitchell for many years, and just getting back to one other point about that run, and you mentioned about the rim protection for Porzingis, but the defensive rebounding for Boston was terrible. The Knicks finally looked like that offensive rebounding juggernaut. They were just knocking rebounds loose, back tapping it, grabbing it. Josh Hart, just a crazy man. And that's when I kind of went back to last season, and that's how successful the Knicks were in beating Philadelphia. And they were just wonderful on the offensive glass during that run, keeping balls alive. Mitchell Robinson came into the league as not a terrible three-point shooter. I mean, not a terrible free throw shooter, rather. His first year was 60%, and then it went downhill after that. His high school coach, who I spoke to many times, said he used to take three-point shots in high school. This is a mental block. He's changed his form many times. And I think he finished 68% this season, but it was a very, very, very small sample size as he missed most of the season. But this free throw shooting is all about mental, not physical. And if I'm Boston, if I have Porzingis healthy, I would try to do a little more of the Hack-a-Mitchell strategy. Right now, his mind is not right. It's sad to see him going from his rookie season, where he was also a putback guy, alley-oop guy in his first few years. And now I feel he's not even involved offensively with alley-oops. Like, Thibodeau has sort of ignored him. And I feel he's just not confident on any level on the offensive end. And there's just been a big regression with Mitchell offensively. Instead of a progression, which you would think from his rookie year, it's just gone downhill. And the Knicks don't have a shooting coach, really, I don't think still. I mean, I remember writing in my final year on the beat about maybe they could have a shooting coach. But it's a real issue with Mitchell and the free throws, to a point where I was thinking last night, boy, I wonder if it's worth even having him on the floor. He is a plus 13, so I guess he gives space for the other guys to operate like Jalen. But that plus-minus stat is one of those weird stats where sometimes it's meaningful and sometimes it's not.
What is meaningful, though, Mark, is those offensive rebounds, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the reason Joe Mazzulla wasn't hacking to play the normal offensive rating game where, okay, this guy's a 50% free throw shooter and giving up 1.1 points per possession. He wanted Mitchell Robinson off the floor because his concern was the defensive glass, particularly as the Celtics had to go smaller. And that is why the focus was on getting him out of the game, not getting him to miss free throws.
Right. And I thought, that last shot of regulation by Tatum, Robinson did a really good job contesting while staying under control and avoiding any contact. And I think he makes them so much better defending pick and rolls, which is something they've struggled with for much of the season. And also, if they're going to switch everything, he helps you to do that. So I think he still impacted the game. But the free throw thing, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't see Sean Mazzulla going away from that if it worked so well for him in game one. You think we see that game two? And I'm not going to ask you how effective it's going to be, but do you think he sticks with it?
I think he does stick with it. Remember, there was a unique situation, too. The Celtics had a lot of team fouls early in that second quarter, so it almost, again, overused expression, perfect storm, but it almost came into play. The Celtics had 3 or 4 team fouls in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second quarter, so that, combined with Mitchell Robinson being on the floor, allowed Joe Mazzulla. It was the perfect situation to try it, and obviously, since it worked, it's a club you've got in the bag to at least consider. But, again, depending on Porzingis and having him, I even said at the time, as it was going on, I said to Cedric Maxwell, my partner, who should Neemias Queta, if you're going to bring him in, if the Knicks are going to have used Precious Achiuwa, who didn't play against Detroit, can you bring Queta in to use up some of those fouls so you're not having Luke Cornett suddenly get into foul trouble when you've got enough issues up front as it is?
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting chess match, something interesting to watch for game two. But, the regular season, as both you guys know well, Boston destroyed the Knicks in 3 games. And the last game, the Knicks played them a little bit tighter. But in my mind, that's where your wings needed to show up. I mean, you spent the 5 first-round picks to get Bridges. You gave Anunoby the big contract. Your expectation was for these guys to play against the top wings in the league. It didn't happen against Boston in the regular season, but I think you'll also have to give these guys credit. I know we talked about it earlier, just the plays that they made late in this game. And Bridges, I think it probably got a little bit overshadowed, but he had a steal. I think he bothered Jalen Brown's drive, and then Brown, I think, tried to pass to Horford on the perimeter. Bridges got his hand on it. It's going out of bounds. He saves it, gets it to Josh Hart. Hart finds Anunoby on that dunk for the N1. I think it put the Knicks up 103-100. And that's a play that probably gets overlooked. But for him to make that kind of play means so much, I think, to teammates and to the organization because of the way things didn't go as well as they had hoped, obviously, in the regular season. Do you need more from Bridges, though, Mark? What are your thoughts? Offensively, you need more. Can it be Bridges scoring, OG scoring, and Jalen and Cat scoring? What are your thoughts there?
Right. Well, they obviously need Bridges to be this type of player, and that's why you give up 5 first-round picks. Listen, in the finals when he was with Phoenix, he did well. He hit some big shots. OG was saying after the game, we have a lot of, major playoff experience and cited McCall in the finals with Phoenix. So they need McCall and OG to do exactly what they did. Then it doesn't matter about Josh Hart. Then Josh Hart can just be that crazy, energizing, offensive rebounding scrapper who once in a while will get a bucket driving downhill. But they won't need him to hit a three-point shot. If OG is that confident from three-point land, Bridges could knock in a three-pointer and play that type of defense, then it's not all about Jalen. And we haven't even talked about Cat. Listen, Cat had that foul trouble in the first half, and then he struggled to start the third quarter a lot. He was so out of rhythm. But that tip-in, you don't see those type of tip-ins that often. I mean, in the middle of overtime, that was a huge bucket for him to tip that ball in. And they'll need Cat, who didn't shoot many three-pointers at all last night. There is a lot on paper, but the problem with the Knicks is it's been so much about living and dying with Jalen. And last night, when Jalen went, I think, 0 for 5 in overtime or 0 for 4 in overtime, everyone else stepped up. And obviously in regulation during that run, Miles McBride was, I think, there at the beginning of the run, hitting a couple of big threes. So there is enough on paper to give Boston a battle. But too often it just becomes the Jalen show, and that's just not good enough. And Jalen said after the game, we have a lot more. And unfortunately, in the Pistons series, it really did seem like it was all about Jalen Brunson, and that's not how you beat the Celtics.